Hi, guys. Okay. If any of you were on just a couple minutes ago, I apologize. I had some network issues, but I think we're good to go going forward. So, good morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are. My name is Alee Attoe. I'm a coach and instructor with BestLife Creation Society, and here today to talk about getting to know your knowingness. I'm going to have a lot of fun discussing this with you guys. Before I get too far into that, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a coach and instructor with BestLife Creation Society. Best Life is a wonderful mastermind of people who are learning and growing together to be their best selves, their truest selves, learning a lot through the law of attraction and the power of feeling good and connecting to your most authentic self and operating out of that place. Hi, Jen. Nice to see you. Yes, the network issue is resolved, and we're good to go. So, yeah, I live in Canada, have a couple of awesome kids, and I've been a member of Best Life for a couple years. And then as a member of the mastermind, that means that you get access to multiple classes on a daily basis. All of our paid classes that normally are paid for are included in your membership, including our life coaching certification and a whole bunch of other fantastic stuff. And I have to tell you guys, it has just been an incredible journey being a part of this group of people. What I have found that my passion to be is really teaching about our connection to source, God, higher power. And this all comes from my personal experience, as most of the time when we come here to this beautiful planet, we have experiences that, just turning my phone off, we have experiences that are part of who we're wanting to become. And so I know that I've had all these really interesting experiences with different religious organizations, and my own personal experiences with my connection to source. And one of my passions in life is to help other people find that connection, that deep abiding sense of knowingness, which we're going to talk about today, that understanding that that source, God, higher power, spirit, whatever name you have that makes sense to you, is always right there with you. You have an incredible and enduring and unbreakable partnership with this incredible energy that loves you completely unconditionally, supports you, and more than anything wants to help you to continue to evolve to your most authentic self, to your truest self, to the person that deep down inside you are and are becoming. So this idea today of getting to know your knowingness is how do we get there? How do we feel that sense and then expand on it? So, and again, I'll just back up a little bit here. When I mean knowingness is a feeling. It's a certainty. Excuse me. It's usually something that you feel in your solar plexus or your heart chakra, your heart area. And it is that deep sense of, I'm okay. And actually, everyone else is okay too. We are all connected to source energy. We all have opportunity to move and grow, but mostly I'm okay. I know that I am 100% supported. I'm 100% loved. And I'll be quoting Abraham Hicks a lot if those are teachers that you listen to. Just incredible content. But the quote is, I can't get it wrong and I'll never get it done, which means that whatever choice I make, there's a way, if I don't like that choice, there's a way to change that choice and change the consequences of that choice. If I like that choice, I can keep making it or keep making alterations and keep feeling better and better and better. But underneath, the most important thing is that knowingness that you are supported and loved every step of the way. And part of why this has come up for me in my life experience is when I was younger, when I was like in my preteens, as a teenager, and then a lot in my 20s, I did have a lot of really, really powerful experiences with Source where I did have that sense of knowingness of, wow, I was connected to something bigger than myself, and it was incredible. And when you have those experiences, no one can really take those away from you, right? I mean, they are there. We can convince ourselves that something else happened, or other people can tell us how we're supposed to think logically about those experiences. But if you go back to that feeling of connection, nobody can take that. And you can bring that all right back up again if that's something that you want to do, or in your memory. So what I've noticed, and I love that, a lot of my observations were confirmed in a lot of the different things that I've been reading. One of them being a fantastic book by Eckhart Tolle. This is a book that's been around for a long time, A New Earth. A lot of times what happens is we'll have, as humans, I mean, we came from Source, and part of what we get to do on this planet is keep expanding into more and more experiences, more and more opportunities to evolve to that person we want to be through different experiences, through things that, feel good, which we love and want to move towards, and things that don't always feel good, which, if you listen to Abraham, is called contrast. It's the things where you go, oh, I don't think I want that. But now that that's happened, I actually know what I do want. So I learned from it and I actually grew. So what happens a lot of times when people have a spiritual experience or an awakening or that connection, and especially if this happens with a group of people, is that group together can really enjoy community around that. They can enjoy sharing their experiences. But typically over time, if people don't understand how your mind works and how, that knowingness, that connection to Source and your heart works, is that humans tend to like to organize, sort, codify, computate, write down rules. And so people might come along and say, it's so wonderful that you've had this experience. Isn't it great to know God or spirit or Source this way? Now, based on our experience, or based on my experience, I want to let you know that if you want to keep that connection, there's a list of things that you can do and a list of things that you can't do. And if you do this list over here, that connection, you're going to lose that connection, or you're not going to have it anymore. And in fact, there's a good chance, or this is kind of across the board, that Source energy, that God, that whoever it is, might not really like you or love you anymore if you do this list of things that this culture, this group of people says is a no-no. So this is where people feel a ton of contrast a lot of times in different religions, because they've had this experience, this knowing this, oh my goodness, I am connected to something bigger. I am supported. I am loved. But then, this still can happen to all of us. Our culture, our family, our community says that's fine, but you'll only experience that if you do this, this, and this, and you don't do this, this, and this. So what happens then is people give over the authenticity of that connection to a list that was made by somebody else's mind, right? Or something that works for them. That person might know that when they do this thing, that feels great for them. But when they do this thing, that causes them to not feel as good. And so it doesn't work for them. And you know what? That is 110% fine for them. It might not be 100% fine, 110% fine for you. This whole journey is about learning what works for you, what feels authentic to you, what you and your source are partnering with in a connected way that feels authentic to you. So this idea of knowing your knowingness is honoring and valuing that connection and what you're hearing from that feeling space with source, God, Holy Spirit, light, whatever it is, absolutely first before anyone else. You can get input from people, you can ask questions. I mean, part of what we do at Best Life is life coaching. It's great to work with people through different issues that have come up and get input. And a lot of times, source energy, God puts these people in your path to help you about very specific things that you're asking questions about. So I'm not saying that you go and be a little rock on your own, but I am saying that you have to choose and honor how you're feeling first, right? And the list of do's and don'ts for how to stay connected to God or source, it just might not apply to you. And for me, this is I guess something I'm really passionate about, because I was one of those people that had this great sense of knowingness and connection, but because I didn't know the difference between a mind or an ego trying to codify things and listening, I didn't know necessarily that I needed to listen to my connection with my source first. I experienced a lot of things that weren't very pleasant, because I would be ricocheting back and forth between, I have to do this, but it doesn't feel good, but they're telling me that I have to do this to be right with my source, to be right with God. This is the list and I cannot stray outside it. And if I stray outside it, God might not even like me anymore. So that feeling that I know to be so authentic in me might just go away. So I'm just scrolling down a little bit. And so, oh, hi, Tracy. So it's so important to really know that sense within ourselves. And the other thing that I want to address with that is, no matter what choice you've made, no matter what has happened in your life, that source, actually the feelings that source energy, God, has about you never changes, ever, 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 no matter what you do, no matter what you've done. Source always sees the you that is residing, in that deepest part of you, the you that came here to expand and grow and experience this world and this life. Source always sees you that way. And I love, I was listening to Abraham Hicks last night. I'm like a daily listener. And one of the things that she was explaining to someone is that, source doesn't leave you when you're not feeling good. Source doesn't just abandon you. Source is always there with you. It's just, source is there to continue to beckon you to a better feeling place and to beckon you back to yourself. If you are a bit off, if you are out of source, the feelings towards you don't change. And one of the things I said is, you know that you are with source when you feel relief. So let's say you're having a terrible day. If you're able to find something in your experience that helps you have a better feeling emotion than what you're currently feeling, that movement from a lower emotion to a higher emotion and that feeling of relief that comes with this, that is source energy, that is God working with you on your behalf, lovingly and gently and in an all-encompassing, accepting way, just helping you move a little bit closer to feeling better and a little bit closer to feeling that deep and abiding love. I'm just going to read a couple things that Jen has said. We are always connected to Source God in this physical experience. We are so loved, valued, and appreciated unconditionally, always. Absolutely. Aligning with who we really are, inner being, source, soul, life force, energy opens everything up to us. Absolutely. Oh, and thank you, Jen. So this is such a freeing thing to know, that really everything here is for us. And your guide is not what anyone else says, it's what you're feeling. And I'll share just quickly too some of the experience that, some of the things that kind of made me think about this is, when I got back into Best Life and I started learning again about the power of your emotions, of feeling good, of checking in with yourself, I was a little bit worried that if I had wanted to focus on feeling good all the time, that I would have to kind of pull myself away from any opportunities, that or people, movies, books, literature, culture, anything that might make me not feel good, because I wanted to guard that feel good feeling. And I knew that feeling good, the way you're feeling now is the best indicator of your future. But I was kind of like thinking, how do I do this? How do I live in a world that's so full of what it's full of and be in this feel good space? And what I've so wonderfully learned over time, through listening to Abraham and just our continued amazing classes with our coach Super Dave and with our CEO Jen and all the other incredible instructors that we have, is that it's not about hiding yourself away, right? And I've seen this before so many times where people have this incredible experience with God or with Source, and then they shut everything out because they're scared they're going to lose it, right? Or they're scared that God's not going to love them anymore. Well, when you know that's not true, that God's always going to love you anyways, and that everything is here for you to enjoy, you just have to follow your internal guidance system. So there was a while where I was learning and learning about my guidance system and what felt good and what didn't feel good, where, I didn't want to watch anything that had even a little bit of violence in it. I at that point in time, it wasn't something that I could handle. But I was thinking, does this mean I never watch an action movie with my husband on date night, or, I never, face some of the things that are happening in the world? Like, how do we live? How do we live and evolve into better people as a whole if we never can look at the darkness, if we can never look at things that are upsetting, or never lightly accept things that aren't even true anyways, like a movie? It's all just acting, it's not real. And again, it goes back to this: if you were grounded in your knowingness, if you were in a place where you understand that connection with Source and that everything is for you, then what's amazing is that you just get to be open to, and Jen's just saying this too, open to receive guidance about everything. So you know what? If I'm watching a movie and I can see I'm in a grounded place with Source, my knowingness, I feel good, I can see things that are disturbing. I don't actually really try to watch disturbing movies, but I can watch like an action flick or, something, and it doesn't shake me because I'm grounded in my knowingness that all is good, all is well, I am well, and I'm not seeing these things and feeling like, oh, this is something that could happen to me or it's happened to other people. I'm just grounded in my knowingness that all is well. So then when I see things that are contrasting, things that might, if you're not grounded, be difficult to look at, they don't shake me the way that they used to, and it is that knowingness that everything works out for me, and ultimately everything works out for everyone else as well. We may not understand the paths, we may not understand how this all works, but when you have that bigger sense of the connection to Source energy and that knowingness, right, then everything is open to us. And it is following that guidance. So if something feels good to you today that doesn't feel good to anybody else, you get to listen to yourself. You only are really accountable to yourself and that connection to your knowingness and to your Source. If your family or your culture has some really big no-nos, but they feel okay to you, they don't cause contrast. They, if you're looking at your emotional tone scale and it feels really good to you, then be that person. Do that. You don't have to listen or be subject to other people's rules. And this is kind of a funny story a little bit, but I had this really, really wonderful, very, very sophisticated grandmother who, wore only designer clothes, and, she never let the sun touch her face ever. I mean, she looked amazing in her 80s, but I was not like her. I liked riding horses. I liked working with my hands. I practically lived at the barn when I was a kid. And I worked off a lot of my board and my lessons for riding horses by working at the stable. So, I was in the guck and I loved it. And that was so hard for a lot of people in my family to take, because that's just the culture of the family was that you weren't that person, you weren't the tomboy. But when I look back at that, it was really me following what I was authentically passionate about. And following that passion led me to some of the best friendships I've had in my life and the best realizations I've had. It led me to so many things. But most of all, it's that feeling of I found something that I authentically loved and I went for it. And you know what? Everyone else adjusted around me eventually, and it was fine. So, hi, Landon. Nice to see you. So all of this is about, getting to know, experiencing, and honoring that place, that connection with our source, knowing that we are loved fully and unconditionally. And if you're not fully familiar with that feeling, I'll give you a couple ideas on how to help find it and how to practice feeling it. So, really, it is about finding things that make you feel good, things that bring you a sense of satisfaction. So if you can spend some time, think about some of the things in your life that have brought you the most joy, big things, small things, whatever it is. And that feeling of, that I just feel at home in my skin. I am so happy right now. It might be something as simple as like I know for me, some of those moments are times when I've gone on a great hike. I just got to be outside, or I went camping with my family. Sometimes that feeling comes meditating. That's why a lot of people meditate daily, is to get back in connection with that feeling before they start their day or at the end of the day. And when you do things that you love it, and again, I'll go back more to physical things that you might do. Well, those are physical things, but other things like hobbies. Like for me, that sense used to come when I was at the stable. I felt totally at home there when I was riding horses. Maybe it's taking a walk. Maybe it's doing a craft. Finding those things that make you feel really good and that sense of well-being, and then holding on to that. And when you're going throughout your day, if you have what I call those moments between moments, when you're driving your car or you're walking in the parking lot or you're going, walking to the bathroom from the office, of reconnecting to that feeling. Oh yeah, I remember that feeling. Because that feeling, it's accessible to you anytime. And the more you practice that feeling, the more you bring it up to yourself, the more you're going to have experiences in your life that support that and bring those feelings of well-being to you. And then when life happens, as it does, and you're experiencing something that you don't like, because stuff's going to come up, and that's okay. If we don't have things come up, we don't know how we want to grow, and we don't know how else we want to experience life. But experiencing unpleasant things in life is so much easier when we have this deep and abiding sense of well-being. Because when something comes up, first of all, you know that you're never alone. You know that source is right there with you, and that if you're feeling anger or you're feeling frustrated, or let's say for whatever reason you chose not to listen to what your internal guidance system was saying and you did something else, that happens. That's part of learning. I don't even want to use the word making mistakes, but making choices is part of learning. Making choices is part of learning. And those choices will help inform your decisions moving forward. So when these things come up and you know that source is with you, and you know that you constantly carry this abiding well-being and this abiding sense that you are loved and accepted and honored and supported, and there's always this divine being that's helping you move, helping you evolve, helping bring you along. So when things come up, they're not as big of a deal, right? And you can see them for what they are, just circumstances that have come up that you get to flow through, move through, and learn from. And you know what? There's so much grace, there to move through these things that way, right? Yes, Landon, outdoors and quiet time. Absolutely. Actually, all of this is just making me want to go to my favorite hiking spot so much. So I'm going to work out some time to do that. So, and what Jen says here is the ability to find the beauty that is easy to see in what you love in everything and all things is transformational. Absolutely. Yes. And so when things come up in our life, they're no big deal. And if they feel like a big deal for a while, it's okay. There's a way to shift back to ease and well-being and flow. So I have this beautiful deck of cards. I know I talked about this last week. I'm trying to find the lid. I know this will be backwards on your screen, but you can see the cover. This is a relationship deck, Getting into the Vortex, which is a Jerry and Esther Hicks. I know there's a little bit of a glare. Anyway, I love these cards. And so I wanted to, I was asking Source to bring one up that would go along with the talk today. And this one says, our source is one of love, not condemnation. And it says on the back, when you pay attention to the way you feel and deliberately choose more thoughts that feel good while you think them, you'll begin to recognize the nature of your broader non-physical desires. So when you're choosing thoughts that feel good, you'll be able to understand more the big things that you want, and that connection to source and how this all fits together. And most of all, how safe and secure you are. Then it says the majority of negative emotions that you feel are not because the subject of your thought is wrong, but instead you are condemning something that your source does not condemn. So this goes back to like your source doesn't condemn you for thinking or feeling or being anyway. It's usually us that condemn ourselves, or we look at a list of rules that we think we're supposed to follow, and if we're not following them, then we feel bad and we feel guilty. But often it's for things that aren't really aligned with ourselves anyway. And it says your source is one of love and not one of condemnation. So again, we're free to experience what we want. We're free to do what we want. Just following our internal guidance system is what's going to bring us to the most joy and peace and love. And when we are experiencing contrast, when we're experiencing things that we don't want to experience, the journey back to that sense of well-being can be a very, very, very short one. It can just be a little side trip that we learn from, and we learn more what we want from. And yes, absolutely. So I hope this has been a good exploration of this idea of knowing your knowingness. I hope that all of you have a really fantastic day, and that you are full today with that abiding sense of well-being, that abiding sense of peace, and that knowledge that you are so supported, you are so loved, you are so connected, Every second, every breath that you take, source energy is there with you, calling you deeper, calling you into a more authentic and truer sense of yourself, calling you to more love and joy and passion, calling you to more life experiences, that will help you expand and turn into and grow into the person that you came here to be. So again, it's been wonderful to be here with you. My name again is Alee Attoe, and if you guys want to find out more about what we do at Best Life, feel free to stay tuned to our Facebook page. I mean, we've got stuff going on every single day, whether it's a workshop where you can hop on Zoom and be a very, very active participant, or Facebook Lives. I know we have some more classes coming up that are going to be available to the public. And then if you want to find out more about membership, I mean, our membership is incredible. There are classes, multiple classes on a daily basis, all teaching and exploring together, how we stay more connected to source, how we expand, how we grow in our businesses, in our relationships, in learning more what different spiritual masters have taught in the past. And there's also life coaching certifications, if that's something that you want to learn to become a life coach, or as one of our wonderful new members, Jenny has spoken about, you just want to learn how to be a better life coach to yourself. So anyway, feel free to hop on our Facebook page or our website. Our website is www.bestlifecreationsociety.com. And for now, have a beautiful, beautiful, blessed day. I look forward to speaking with you guys again next week. And love you all. Have an amazing connected day, and talk to you soon.